question. When you think of the terms standard or normal or perfect in society, what do you think?
I tend to think of stereotypes. In other words, society has created a vision of what normal should be or standard should be, and then in essence, what happens is society is trying to tell people what their expectations are of them, rather than people determining them for themselves. And one of the challenges, of course, is in a multicultural, very liberal society such as we have in the United States, where we believe in personal freedom and diversity, that causes a real challenge because then it drives people to satisfy the expectations of society rather than living their own lives, and of course, then living a more happy and fulfilling life based upon their own personal inner feelings and desires.
Okay. All right. Next question. When you look at other races and ethnicities trying to make a living in our country, how do you think they view our culture when it comes to the perfect way of living?
What's interesting because there was a recent study that I just heard on PBS that said that the different minorities that have moved to the United States, and probably minority is a bad word because in many ways uh, whites in the United States today are the minority because the thing that comes through in this study is the fact that there is a view that people have outside the United States as to how Americans live, how open and free the social advancement system is, that if you come here and you work hard, that you will be rewarded. And in many cases, it's true because in having visited other countries, there is a certain social caste system within the country. And some of it is also an economic caste system where people uh, are born into, live in, and are restricted by the classes that they of course, were born into. In the United States, though, I think that they view that the society is open, opportunity is there, and if you work hard, that you can excel. It's interesting, though, also that there's a study that, as I said, that recently came out on PBS that challenges that assertion in the fact that up until about the late 1970s, that was inherently true. But with the taxation system in the United States, and also with the increasing gap between rich and poor, it challenges that assertion to say that I believe 79% of Americans in the upper 20% have progressed very well economically, whereas the lower four classes of Americans, if you just simply draw the strata at 20%, 20%, 20%, the lower four stratas of Americans haven't progressed economically at all. And matter of fact, in the lowest 20% of Americans, that they've actually regressed about 18%. So I still believe that those that move to the United States from other cultures believe that our country is very open, is a land of opportunity, and to the largest extent it really is, because you have the ability to be who you choose to be in the United States because of our social freedoms and the economic opportunities that we have. But I think it's increasingly challenging for those from outside the United States to truly make the whole American dream come true.
Sorry. Um, what is your experience with what other cultures find to be the ideal way of living after visiting different places around the world? You mean like, and I'm saying like, when you go to a different country,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see in their culture, like what their ideals are for the perfect way of living?
Um, I've traveled in Africa and Asia and the Middle East and the Far East, and so I've seen a number of different cultures. I think, though, that the basic expectation of every family in the world is, first of all, they want the freedom of religion in order to worship the God that they choose. The second thing that they want is they want opportunity to make a decent living and to live in comfort throughout their lives. The third thing that they want to do is they want to make sure that their children have an opportunity for an education and to better themselves. And actually, I think most parents that I've seen throughout the world really want their kids, just like we do in the United States, to live a better life with more prosperity and more opportunity than they had for themselves. They have that desire. I think the last thing that people also aspire to is they basically want to live in security, and they want to live in a certain level of comfort. It doesn't have to be rich. They don't have to be rich, but they expect to be able to live in comfort, free of fear of violence, with opportunity to make at least a living that they can feed themselves and have relative comfort. And then the third thing that they look for is they want to be able to grow throughout their lives. In other words, grow personally and also grow economically. I would say, though, that those are the basic aspirations of every society and every culture that I've come in contact with. The difference, I believe, comes with respect to the government. How the government treats their people, as to whether they treat them as members of the society and they hold themselves to the same standard as their own people. In other words, there's a common rule of law between those that rule and those that are ruled. And I think the second thing is the level of corruption and abuse that some governments exact over their own people. In other words, in some countries of the world, I've seen that there are political systems that are used to not only control people but also to extract resources from people. And that is really kind of the source of conflict, I believe, throughout the world, is as the perception grows that the government and certain groups are very privileged and are out of contact with their people, then that's really what the seeds of violent conflict. That's where the grievances grow that then in turn divide societies and drive them towards violent conflict and war. On the other hand, there are countries where they don't have what we would call truly democratic and representative ideals, but they have a social system where the government cares for the people, and then also provides for their basic needs. Those are the countries that I think do fairly well.
Cool. All right. Are there any other thoughts you'd like to give?
I think the one thing that I would say, based on the questions that you asked about diversity and also cultural diversity throughout the world, I think that the people of the world that I've come in contact with, from Africa, Asia, Europe, and the like, all have a very complimentary view of the United States. In other words, they see us truly in terms of the values that we believe of ourselves. In other words, American values are liberty and equality for all, that there should be personal freedom, and that there should be freedom protected from governmental intrusion and also from external threats such as terrorism, criminality, and such like that. I think that they see our particular values and our way of life as something that they aspire to. Whether that may be true or not, they still have that view of the United States. It's almost universal. And they consider us probably one of the luckiest people in the world.
All right, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dad. Really appreciate it.
Okay.